everybody? Welcome to season 6, episode 2 here of Isles Talk, and the gang is all back because Gary finally got his days right. The Jets are not on. We don't have to worry about them. Gary in
I'm
his
not a
Jets
Jet
one.
fan. I'm not a Jet fan.
I know you're a Bills fan, but
Yeah.
that's the only reason I can come up with last week that the Jets were on, and I had to do a show by myself. It was I'm trying to give you a little bit of leeway here. I figure you switch sides, Mets, Islanders. Hey, you were rooting for the Jets for a little bit there. Yep, there we go. Nope. Nope. Let me. Oh yeah, I was gonna do that. Yeah.
Staying out of that.
No. Because that is
my team season's over already, so that's
stop insulting Gary. Such a nice guy. Never, absolutely never. All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another Isles Talk here. My name's Paul Kreischer, one of the hosts here this evening. Joining us here, finally, Gary Harding. Gary, how are you?
Much better than I was the last few days. Doing well, thank you.
And out of work, finally here. I'm still mom's favorite, but we love him anyway. Joe Panettiere, how are you, Joe?
You got me there. You got me there, man. Everything's good. Everything. Glad to be back.
Good.
Glad to be back.
Good. Absolutely. All right. So listen, real quick, boys and girls, before we talk about the Isles and the Metro Division, we're going to do a quick NHL preview here. For those of you who were watching the show last week, I got a couple of benchmarks, shall we say, for each team moving forward in the NHL. And I did it not just with the Metro Division, but I did it with all of the divisions. And since we have fans all across the NHL, I got asked again to do the previews, but they didn't realize that we do this every year anyway. So for this week, we're going to cover the Metro in a few minutes, but we're going to cover the Central Division. And when I look at the Central Division, gentlemen, it could only be a 3-team race, but very much like the Metro, I think that middle's going to be a little jumbled. But starting off at the bottom, our good friend Brian, big Blackhawks fan, but I got to put the Hawks down in last right now at number 8. For me, the Hawks have to get close to 77 points as possible. They're still doing a rebuild. They're still developing a culture there. Even if they're on pace for 77 points by the trade deadline, that's a win for the organization. If there are any players who want to be traded, go for that Stanley Cup run, go ahead and do that. But if you can get anywhere near the NHL 500 by February, that's a big win for you. The other thing I've heard on Chicago is that they want Bedard playing more of a two-way game this year, not just, go out and have fun. He's going to learn the NHL systems, the defensive style, that 500-foot game. So we'll see if how his numbers are once he develops a defensive game to go along with that. Gentlemen, my next one, in all honesty, is probably going to surprise quite a few people here. The Winnipeg Jets in 7th place to start this season. I need to know where their offense is coming from. And for those of you who weren't here last week, my benchmark right now for offense, I need to see at least 264 goals on paper to start this season on offense. For me, the Jets don't have it. The Jets are missing at least a 25-goal score heading into this season. What does that mean? Yeah, that means the Jets are going to have to rely on Connor Hellebuyck again. And very much like the Rangers, which we'll get into again, I don't think you can ride Hellebuyck for the entire season and expect him to get you through the playoffs. So, no, I'm not expecting I'm expecting the Jets to do a lot of work at some point, especially around the trade deadline, maybe even before that. But the Jets, gentlemen, I don't see them doing as well as they did last year. But I think this is one of those take 2 steps forward, take 1 step back. This may be their 1 year where they just take a step back and they see what they have. Now, probably my favorite team entering this season in the Central Division. Excuse me. And Islander fans, get ready for this team because you got them in game 1. The Utah Hockey Club. Boys and girls, the Utah Hockey Club have a good young nucleus of offensive power. All they need is that defensive structure and the goaltending. Even if they give up 3 goals a game, guess what? Utah's winning. Utah's going to win a lot of goals, a lot of games just off of the goal scoring that they're going to have. So even if the goaltending is average at best, Utah is going to come out and win a few of those games. So again, it's game 1. Utah's going to come out guns blazing. They're young. They're going to play, the heck with it. We're just coming at you.
Can I comment on something, Paul?
Absolutely.
I was thinking the same way when we were looking at this, but I like the fact of what the moves that they made. 3 defensemen come to mind: Sergachev, Ian Cole, John Marino. Those are big. That's a big, with the 2 young kids that they have out there. So I don't think the defense is a problem. The goaltending is definitely the issue.
Sure.
Ingram came out. Ingram had a little bit. Vamelka had a little bit, but they've got to be stronger. And if they do that, like you said, with the offense that they've got, I don't see them. I don't see them in 6th. I actually see them in a playoff spot.
I'm glad you do. I mean, again, this is to start the season because we don't know what really Utah's going to do. And
agreed.
Again, it's a new arena, brand new spot. Like I said, though, they are my most exciting team to see this coming season. Joe, if you got anything you want to say, just add right in. Let us know.
Well, with Utah, they're going to be one of those teams that you're going to have to see, like, getting close to the trade deadline. What kind of moves they'll be willing to make? Do they go 100% in? Do they go 75% in? You know what I mean? That's
yep.
But I have to agree with Gary. I mean, their defense doesn't look too shabby. So
no, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. And
it's going to be the goalie keeping the puck out in the net. So
absolutely,
I have to agree with that.
And for me, I really want to see Utah and Edmonton go at it in the first round. The amount of offense possibly going back and forth, I would love to see that. No doubt. But again, we'll get into that a few months down the road. For now, folks, especially Islander fans, keep your eye on Utah. I think they're going to be the real deal this year. They're going to be young, fun, and exciting to watch. Okay, moving forward, I got the Colorado Avalanche dead smack in the middle of this division because I've got no idea what they're going to do.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know where their offense is coming from, Gary. They lost Nichushkin for the year, if I'm not mistaken, and they have Landeskog out for the year as well.
Middlestat had a nice run. I think you may expect to get more out of him. He's got the chance now.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's one of those, and Gary has said this many times, you got to play the season. So to start this season off, I have the Avalanche lower, probably less than everyone else. Georgiev, like we've been talking about before, is going to have to save the season. You're going to be asking Cale Makar a lot in terms of offense, and he's a defenseman. If there's any more injuries to this team, they're a big question mark, bro.
Yeah.
I just don't know with Colorado yet. All right, let's see
Yeah.
who else. The St. Louis Blues. I'm sticking them right in the same spot as the Colorado Avalanche. I don't know what you're going to get here. They've missed the playoffs now 2 years in a row. The offense isn't there yet. The defense is dead smack in the middle of this conference. You can flip-flop St. Louis and Colorado at the moment. I just don't know what team is going to show up. If St. Louis gets injuries, forget it. They're a lottery team. They're retooling on the fly. Armstrong is not a rebuild guy. We already know that. But, what are you going to get out of this St. Louis team to start off? No clue.
Well, at that
No clue.
division,
And you've
shaped
got
up. Sorry.
what's up?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, and then you've got Utah doing what Utah's about to do. I think St. Louis is in more trouble than Colorado. I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
Bennington against Georgiev. I mean, that's really what's going to save their seasons at the moment here. After St. Louis, believe it or not, gentlemen, I've got the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild, like Utah, have got a lot of good offensive numbers. If Minnesota gets the goaltending, we're talking 2.7 goals against. Look out.
Yeah, the thing about, it's like, we were talking off earlier about, 3 teams you can pretty much flip-flop. And you got,
Sure.
it's Utah, St. Louis, and Minnesota. Or Colorado. You can throw those 4 in a bunch and come up in either direction.
Absolutely.
That's the way it's going to be, because to me, St. Louis didn't do much. Minnesota didn't do much at all to improve themselves. They're just basically flat. Colorado, you got the injuries that could, either turn them into barn burners or basement dwellers. So it's going to be a big bunch in the middle, and the elite at the top and the crap at the bottom.
Right.
Well, that's what I was going to say before. Teams 4 through 7 could just beat up on each other all year. And you're going to see that revolving door, of all of them, each team jumping above the next one. So,
yeah,
it's going to be
that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, just to watch them all beat up on each other. My number 2 team right now will be the Nashville Predators. Again, I'll say this is on paper to start the season. I've never seen Steven Stamkos play more than 40 games outside of Tampa in one place like Nashville. Just because Nashville brought in a lot of free agents doesn't necessarily mean quick success now. UC Saros is a big reason why I have Nashville at number 2. That whole Roman Josi is another reason why you can put Nashville up there. If the offense comes together, they're going to give the number 1 team a good hard run at first place. Gentlemen, do you guys have any thoughts on Nashville at number 2?
No, don't disagree at all. I mean, Stamkos, that's the big question mark. Marchessault, he's going to put up. Again, they got Brady Shea in the back to go with Josi, so you got 2 solid offensive defensemen there. And the only question is, I think Scott Wedgwood's going to be the backup in Nashville this year, and you got to hope that he does a little better job than he's done in Dallas and other places, because I don't think you're going to have Saros playing 60, 65 games. I just don't.
No.
I don't think he's built for it.
No.
He's great. Don't get me wrong, but he's not built for 60 games.
No.
That's another one of the teams that if everything comes together, they're going to be very scary. Very scary. Because that team just needed a little tweaking. And they did it. And they did it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
All right, and now moving on to the Central Division, number 1 spot, the Dallas Stars. This team, Gary, for your family, look absolutely filthy.
Yeah, they do.
If they didn't add 5 players that should be retired, they'd be the if they if they added five players who should have been retired by now, they'd be the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they got rid of, the guys they got rid of. I liked Tanev there. I thought he was a great fit there, but, just couldn't get the money going. But you got, Pavelski, great career, Hall of Famer. Unfortunately, had to go. Ryan Suter, he's just so long in the tooth. Wedgwood, again, had a bad year. So they replaced Wedgwood with Casey DeSmith. You got Matt Dumba in there. You got Brendan Smith in there. You got Tougher. You got Bigger. And you got Robertson and Wyatt Johnston, who was, to me, was one of the biggest surprises in the entire league. And that kid is only 22.
Yep.
So between him and Robertson, they are going to score like crazy.
Yep.
They're going to be the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. The supposed scoring team. Don't worry, Paul. I'll be there in 3 weeks.
I'll tell you
opening night in Dallas.
I'll tell you one thing. That team, that's another team that's going to be very scary to face. Because
but you know what? The only thing I'm going to say about this, I think Dallas is playing to win now.
Well, they have a bad taste in them.
Yeah, they are definitely playing to win now, because if they don't win that this year, they're gonna unfortunately sink a little bit, because you're gonna have to get rid of some other guys. And
listen, they should just be motivated from the way they went out last season.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Now you have to go out there and prove something. This is it. This is it. This is their season. I agree with Gary. They don't do it this year, then that's it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 players who can score 20 goals or more on that team is ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, and they have Ottinger and DeSmith as your goalie tandem. That's not a bad tandem.
No,
Pittsburgh made a mistake. Yeah, Pittsburgh letting DeSmith go was a bad idea. But
no, it was Vancouver letting DeSmith go.
Well, I'm going all the way back to Pittsburgh too.
Going back to Pittsburgh.
Never let DeSmith go.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, and if Ottinger is lights out this year, Dallas runs away with this. But I like for now Dallas and then Nashville in the top 2. And then we said this before, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7, they'll probably flip-flop for like the next 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what they do in the trade deadline, injuries, everything else like that, we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be shocked if some of these teams started trading earlier than the trade deadline, because they're going to need to. And then you got the Hawks. Good luck to the Hawks. 77 points. Make that your pace by the trade deadline, and then go from there. So, folks, that covers the Central Division here. It is now time for the Metro Division. Yes, and this is where we're going to get down with the Islanders as well. Again, for most of you who watched the show last week, that benchmark of giving scoring 260 goals and allowing 240 were your benchmarks for the Eastern Conference as well as the Western. I think the Islanders can accomplish both. I think they can get 260 goals this year, and I certainly think under Patrick Watt that they're going to get below 240, probably closer to 223 if we have an average penalty killing unit. So, having said that, where could the Islanders finish up with the decent numbers that they have? Again, my numbers are for the start of the season. I have always enjoyed what Gary has said, and even Joe, you have to play the season. You just can't predict and not watch the season. You have to watch the season. Life happens. Hockey life happens. Things will change your course. So all the numbers, everything that you see here from my standpoint, from Gary's standpoint, from Joe's standpoint, it's all about the beginning of this season. and moving forward from there. And let's have fun with this. Gentlemen, I am not going to necessarily include them here at the moment, but we are the Columbus Blue Jackets. Joe, you and I have talked about this off air. There is no unit of measurement to try to predict what an emotional season the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to have. As far as I'm concerned, I would be happier than anything to see them go 15-5 in their first 20 games. Realistically, though, what are you looking for out of the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Uh,
I want to see a lot of heart, a lot of passion.
Well, you're gonna get that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say you're gonna get that the first 15, 20 games of the season. And then eventually that adrenaline, that emotion is going to die down, and you're just going to see them fall back to where, as of now, they should be. And that, I'm not knocking anything, but that's the reality of the situation. Is just that they're not going to be there. They can only ride that wave so much for so long.
Right.
They had 27 wins last year. I would be happy to see them get 27 wins again. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would like to see them at least get back to that plateau, so they could say, hey, all right, with everything that happened, we still showed up.
We're still here.
Right, exactly. And we'll build out here from there. But
right.
Hey, listen, that's we hate to leave them out, but this is.
It's a different subject, right?
We're talking hockey now. That's it. Right.
Yeah. Right. Gary, any thoughts on that?
Just looking at some of the things, their predictions and stuff. I mean, you think about it. The pipeline for Columbus is pretty damn good.
Good. Yes.
Yeah, Juracek, Cole Sillinger, Adam Fantilli. They've got a good bunch of young guys, very talented players. You brought in Sean Monahan, who wanted to, obviously, of course, was best friends with Johnny.
Right.
And he wanted to get back to playing with him. Like, they had so much fun in Calgary together.
Right.
This team, if Johnny was there, I think would have been better than the 27 wins of last year.
No doubt.
I would have probably put them in about 32, maybe 33.
Right.
But they're still, unfortunately, experienced-wise. Even if he was there, they would still be unfortunately, in that point. I think in 1 or 2 more years, this team is going to be phenomenal with the amount of kids that are in their system. They've got one of the best pipelines coming in the league. They really do. And unfortunately, their position has given them that opportunity. But I think that unfortunately, we know where they're going to be, and like I said, God bless the Gaudreau souls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to jump on what Gary had just said. Before everything happened with Columbus, Blue Jackets fans, you weren't on my radar the last 3 years. Before everything happened, you were on my radar. As an Islander fan, I was nervous to play you guys. Not just the team that you had, but as Gary said, the overall organization. You guys were my last year Arizona Coyotes. Because as you guys, if you remember from last year's show, I was a little more fond of Arizona last year being on a radar, finally. This was supposed to be Columbus's year, but I'm agreeing with Gary. There's a good stockpile of young prospects in there. No more than 2 years, folks, and we're going to have to take Columbus very seriously in 2 years. So kudos to Gary for that little reminder. Columbus, good luck to you. Yeah, for once. And until you made that Dallas joke. Look, the Giants are playing Dallas tomorrow night. I don't want to hear it.
I hate the Cowboys. Come on.
Oh, good. Either way, Columbus, go for it. Win as many games as you can. we're going to root for you no matter what.
Exactly.
Yep.
Gentlemen, the next team on my list here, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. I think Joe and I are going to respectfully disagree here for a bit, but there's still not enough experience with this team. Last year, they had Carter Hart for at least half a season, and Carter was magnificent. I don't know where the goaltending is going to happen yet. Michkov is going to be, Joe, as far as I'm concerned, the Flyers are going to go as far as Michkov can take them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's another team that unfortunately didn't really jump up. I mean, there's a good talent pool coming down the pike. But yeah, the goaltending is going to be, unfortunately, a tough situation. Carter Hart was, like you said, was magnificent through the end of November. You know, and the way if he was there and he kept playing the way he did, I don't know about our playoff spot. Philadelphia might have jumped up and got it.
I agree.
But I don't think they did enough to push themselves into the mix. You know, I think they're going to fall a little bit short like they did last year. I don't think they're going to have the kind of season that they did, that they scared people in December and January. I just don't think they're going to get that kind of start.
Joe, you're technically closer to the Flyers than I am. Give me your thoughts on how far you think the Flyers are this year.
Well, I have them on my list in seventh. Okay, I have.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh no, I have them slot. I'm just saying that the way it's going to end up from fourth place to say seventh place, you're going to have three teams flip flopping, and I think the Flyers are going to be one of them. I think they're going to be maybe right there with the Penguins. I think the Penguins are going to be right above them, but I just I don't know. For some reason, Tortorella gets these players to come and play. They bring their hard hat. They grind you down. And if they could put together a string of wins, hey, last season could have been a lot different for them.
Absolutely.
You know, but I have them in seventh.
Okay. Okay. And again, I'm for Flyers fans, and this is for my brother-in-law and my sister. My sister did not grow up a Flyers fan, folks. Let's get that out of the way now. She probably she probably took the Rangers because I was the Lone Isles fan. So let's get that out of the way. She married into a Flyers family. I can still see 87 points for the Flyers, but I think that's more of a goal this year. I agree with Joe. Depending how this season goes, and even with John Tortorella still there, I think 87 should be their goal. I don't know if they're going to get there, but the closer they get to 87 points, ladies and gentlemen, beware of them next season.
You know, as we've said, Paul, last year, the year before, when we do these preview shows, to me, the biggest factor in all of this has always been the net.
Right.
And, you know, this is one of those, you know, I can probably count, there were about 7 or 8 teams on my list that I said goaltending is going to be supremely paramount to how this team has success or not. In Philadelphia, it's going to be that way. They got that big, huge 6'7" Russian guy. Can't remember the name.
Yeah.
That's off. Right. But they're going to be one of those that's going to be key. And you know, the Flyers have had a history since their Stanley Cups of issues in the net. You know, the net has caused them grief. It's caused them Stanley Cup championships. It's caused them so much problems, you know, both hockey related and unhockey related. And, you know, it's been their Achilles heel for 5 decades now. Almost. And it's going to be the issue. You know, they never had such true success behind that net. And
I think Kelly Lindbergh was their last.
Definitely.
You know, Hextall was Hextall. You know what I mean? You know, it was who was in front of him.
Mhm.
So
So, I mean, yeah, that's always been their kryptonite, and it's going to be again for another season. Because as Paul said, Tortorella gets the most out of his guys. He really does. He gets guys to go through walls, eat fire, all that stuff. But sometimes that intensity can just go so far.
Correct.
And other coaches in this division will talk about with that same intensity. It doesn't always go to plan. So we'll see what happens in Philadelphia. It's going to be an interesting story.
I'm going to keep it in Pennsylvania, gentlemen. Number 6, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep.
Sydney there is there for another 2 more seasons. I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year. Evgeny Malkin has got to score 30-plus goals. Minimum. And everything has to go right for Pittsburgh. And they don't have Jay Gensel for half a season either.
No.
mhm.
If Evgeny Malkin wants to come, out of his semi-retirement and score 30 goals, because I still think he can. I don't know if he's that motivated to.
And the thing with them too, which really is interesting, they're so top heavy with their salaries. They've got no cap room, so there's no flexibility in that team. If one of those big guys, the Crosbys or the Malkins or the Latangs or the Carlsons, one of them gets hurt significantly, they're in deep doo-doo.
Oh yeah.
And again, goaltending has been another problem with them. But I think the addition of Sebastian Aho on the D line is going to really help them. No laugh there? Come on. Oh, you guys suck.
Well, I got to agree with
this
Gary.
is-
They're stuck in the mud is the perfect phrase for that team.
Yeah.
Okay, because they slowed down. They had, I think, 38 wins last season, 37, 38 wins.
Yeah.
I think that's all they're going to have this season. Maybe less. I don't think
That
they're
might be a goal again. Yeah, McGrody did go to Pittsburgh, Robin. But again, the thing with McGrody, he played for a national champion in Michigan. They were favored to win the NCAA tournament, the cup, 2 years in a row. They won it on the second, and the kid only averaged 12 goals a game, or 12 goals a season, excuse me. Now he wants to play in the NHL without any American Hockey League to help him out.
Good luck.
I've said that time and time again. That some of these
Who does
kids
that
just
remind
want
you
to.
of, Paul? Who does that remind you of?
Yeah, a lot of these kids these days, they just want to skip the development program that they're supposed to be in and not go through the A like they should. Again, McGrody, okay, I hope he proves me wrong. He's with Sydney. He's with Malkin. He better get you 15, 17 goals, because if he doesn't, he's just another player.
Yeah.
15 to 17 goals out of McGrody. I don't care where he's playing. He's got to do it. If he doesn't, bad idea. So we'll see what happens with Pittsburgh. Moving forward, gentlemen, and again, for all of you watching the show, welcome to Isles Talk, Season 6, Episode 2. We're going over the Metro Division. As Joe said before, the middle of the standings here can flip-flop all season. We're expecting it to. I had said last week I would not be surprised if every trade rumor site was busy, basically starting from November 1st all the way through the trade deadline. I think you're going to see teams making moves all season long. When you look at the standings, I don't think it's going to be at that 20-game Thanksgiving mark. I think it's going to be extended a little bit further into Christmas. This is going to be a toss-up all season long. So the numbers that we're showing you right now, that we have each of these teams, it's just to start the season. not necessarily where they're going to end, because this is a season where I said before, grab your favorite drink and watch the games intently. Don't go out and judge. That's going to be a waste of time. The part of this season is to see where each of your teams are throughout this entire season and into the playoffs, because it won't be until after the playoffs where you actually know where your organization stands. Whether you're going to be a lottery team, whether you're going to be a Stanley Cup runner for next season. A lot of teams don't have that right now, and we're going to get deeper into that. So here comes again to start the season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th place now.
No, fifth.
Fifth place. Fifth place. I have the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, to start this season, 5th place. I need to know where the offense is going to come from in Carolina. Lots of changes were made. Again, they lost Jake Gensel to Tampa Bay. 2 teams losing Jake Gensel is going to hurt you. The regular season goaltending and defense has been good over the years for Carolina. And Joe's going to say this again and again. Rob Brind'Amour is going to be the reason why Carolina is in the mix for the playoff run at this point. But to start the season, gentlemen, I would not be shocked if the Carolina Hurricanes were in trade rumors for a forward for this entire season. Gary, give me your thoughts first on Carolina.
As we were talking before we went on the air, to me, they're the team that lost the most. You lost 2 great defensemen in Brady Shea and Brett Pesce. I'm not even going to talk about Tony DeAngelo.
Right.
You lost Stepan Nason, you lost Teravainen, you lost Gensel, you lost Kuznetsov. And you lost Antti Raanta. Okay, to me, the biggest issue for me with Carolina is going to be the goaltending. I mean, and defense was always Carolina's forte. Even going back 25 years, it was always Carolina's defense that kept them in games and got them to where they needed to be. You lost 2 huge cogs on that back line. I mean, Shea played 25 minutes, played everywhere, did everything, and went along to Barry Trotz. So between that part going away, you lose Gensel and Teravainen, 2 good goal scorers up front, and you lost Raanta, who was he wasn't the greatest, but he was dependable when you had to, because Freddie Anderson is going to be up and down. He's not going to get you 40. I don't even think he'll get you 35 games this season. I don't think he's played more than 40 in a season in about 4 years.
Right.
And Pyotr Kochetkov, I'm not betting the farm on him. I just won't. So to me, when I looked at the numbers, I think they had 51 wins last year, 111 points.
Yep.
I really, looking at this lineup, I can't see them above 95. Yes, Rod Brind'Amour is the coach, and Joe's going to definitely put his 2 cents on this. Him, like Mr. Tortorella in Philadelphia, both of those guys are crazed, in-your-face, hard coaches, and guys like to play for them. But, sooner or later, and it really hasn't happened much with Brind'Amour, but I have a feeling it's going to happen at some point, that, they're not going to listen to him. It's not going to, and if this team starts off, 20 games going, say, 7, 10, and 3, there's going to be a lot of problems down there, and they're going to have to do, like you said, changes are going to have to be made early. And that's one that I'm looking for, because they're never afraid to make moves. I will give them that. Carolina will always take the chance and always do something, but they're close to the cap, and they're going to have to do something, because I don't think the way this lineup is structured, as you said, in setting this up, they're not structured enough. They think that they'll be in the top of the division, going against the Rangers for first in the division like they were last year.
Spoiler alert.
All right. So we're talking about structure. He made a very good point. That's where Brindamore comes in. That team is going to be structured to win, playing a grinding style. Okay, they're going to wear teams down. They're going to play playoff hockey from day one, and that's going to be their forte until the playoffs. Okay, I'm not going to say where I see them finishing. All right, but I do have them up there, and right now I have them in the beginning of the season as my number 3 team. They're not even my number 5 team. Okay, so I'll get to my point now, is where the Islanders, Capitals, and Hurricanes are going to be flip-flopping the 3, 4, and 5 spot. So I can't tell you where I think they're going to end up, but those are the 3 teams that I think are going to be fighting for that 3rd spot.
Okay.
So
I agree with that.
And I agree with Gary. With all 3 of those teams that I have in that 3, 4, and 5 spot, I think goaltending is going to be the big issue to where they're going to finish. If we're not healthy in net, we could easily be in the 5 spot, easily. So no, Randy's doom and gloom.
Yeah,
Randy is doom and gloom. But Joe, you do have the Isles in 5th at the moment, correct?
I have the Islanders in 4th. I have the Capitals in 5th.
5th. Okay.
At the moment, I do have the Hurricanes in the 3 slot.
Okay. Good. So, let's move on to that number 4 spot then. I actually have the Washington Capitals in that number 4 spot. I think they're going to be better than last year. And I said this stat on the show last week. The American Hockey League champion of 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. You can go back now almost 20 years. After that champion was crowned, their NHL parent team made the playoffs every year. Hershey Bears won the Calder Cup 2 years ago. Washington should not have made the playoffs last year. But a lot of those kids, even after their playoff run was done last year, they went back and they won themselves 2 Calder Cups now. Now they're all groomed. They're all ready. They're going to be better. If Ovechkin can rack up another 30-goal season and have these kids supplement some of the lost goals that they have, if Pierre-Luc Dubois actually shows up, I think this is a team that can definitely hit a wild card spot, and I don't think they're going to get swept in the playoffs, no matter who they're playing.
No.
Gary, give me your thoughts on Washington.
I like the Logan Thompson move. I think Kemper was, he got that contract off the Cup win, but I just did not. If I was a Cat fan, I wasn't feeling comfortable with Kemper in that. I mean, Logan Thompson is very solid, very consistent. I think that'll be a major, major difference for this team. Like you said, they got Chychrun on the back end. They've got, the big question is Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Bingo.
I'm not looking at, this is a team that if you had Kemper, I'd be worried about the goaltending situation. Like that question always pops up. I'm not worried about goaltending now with this team. I'm really not. So it's the question of, can you get something out of this guy? Because, he kind of reminds me of a certain player on a certain team around where we live, talent up the wazoo, but lack on the brain. If he can get that brain motivated and put it into his arms and to his wrist shots and getting open and doing the right things, I think Washington can be deadly, because Ovechkin's got something to prove. And a couple people out there said he's even slower this year, but you know what? I don't buy that at all. I think he's going to be motivated like you would not believe.
Yeah,
because they did a lot of movement on this team, and they're the ones that I always say, a team that's going to scare me. Washington scares me.
Yes,
they scare me.
Joe, give me your thoughts on Washington.
That's a team that's going to be 100% in come playoff time.
No doubt.
That's one of the teams. They in the off season, they didn't do a 75% or a 50%. Let's just make the fans happy. They went out and they put themselves a competitive team, and they're going to be scary. The 3, 4, and 5 holes in the Metro. I still think it's going to come down to goaltending.
Absolutely.
No question.
To decide that. So. But I agree with Gary. They're scary.
Fair enough. And folks, while we're here, while we're discussing the standings and whatnot, if you have any thoughts on where you feel a team should be in the Metro Division, put them down. We'll put them here. You know, we're not going to make fun of you, except for Randy. That's all. That's all we're going to do. So. Listen.
You know what? No, before you go to the next thing, we should really every show have like a 2-minute, rap on Randy section.
No, I get bored with that. Please, I get bored with that. Are you kidding? I don't have to do it on the show here. I can just do it anywhere. He's in a couple of chats. You can do that whenever I want.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to give him any more attention.
Moving on.
I don't want to give him any more attention than he wants, because we all know he wants it. Anyway. My number 3 team, boys and girls. Calm yourself, Robin. Calm yourself. We're not there yet. We will be. I do have the Isles coming in 3rd to start this season. The offense is there. The defense is there. God help everyone if Sorokin goes on his revenge tour, as Rob Top has been bringing it up as. For me, gentlemen, it's the health of the defense and Ilya Sorokin at this point. I think there's enough offense there. If the goaltending is solid and we have a healthy defense, minimum 3rd place for right now. I don't know if they have the offense to keep up with the Rangers and the Devils. I think that would be the deciding factor. But again, this is a season where anything can happen and moves can be made. So, Joe, I'll let you go first. Give me your thoughts on the Isles.
Like I said, goaltending, defense. I agree with you. The goal scoring is going to be there. If the defense can stay healthy and the goaltenders stay healthy, yeah, third place could be theirs. And again, 3, 4, and 5. I'll say it again. Comes down to goaltending, in my eyes. So
good, Gary.
Yeah. Just everybody praying that the healthy bug, stays with them.
Yeah,
the healthy bug's got to stay with this team. Everybody, said, "Oh, you didn't really, the Islanders didn't make any moves. They didn't really do anything." I don't think so. I mean, granted, it's preseason games 1 and 2. There's 7 months to go, but you can see chemistry flowing already. Forget about the last 8 minutes of the 3rd period last night. Okay. And that's why I wrote what I did under my name. Everybody's crying after 2 games. Okay. Forget about the results of the game. They could be 0-6 for all I care. But I like seeing what's been put in front of us. For all intents and purposes, the Patrick Waugh game is working. They got to fix the 5-on-6. We know that. We know there's things you still got to fix. But already you're seeing things. If anybody tells me right now that Sipakov looks bad, I swear to God, I'm going to take the glasses off and start punching people, because he immediately showed me. And from the things that I saw, clips from the KHL last year, I saw why they really worked hard to get him here.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of talent. He's strong on his skates. He's going to be great in the corners. He penalty kills. He does everything we need. And God bless Matt Martin, and Cal Clutterbuck for everything they've done for this organization. But this team has to get younger, and this team has to get faster. I think we've done a little of that already. And I think a better system, and give Tommy Alberline more than 4 days to get this straightened out. I think it will get straightened out. They're going back to old ways. They're going back to the first-year Barry ways. But again, It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little while, but it's going to percolate. And I think as you were saying earlier, usually Paul usually looks at Thanksgiving is that, that point where you really start to look. I think you got to go into that. I know they have a 5-game road trip in the middle of November. I would say somewhere after that second week in December, if they're in the, in that 3-4 spot at that point, then I think, that things are going to look good, and it's going to come down to Ilya's health.
Sure.
We all know what Varley can do, and God help us, we got to keep our D healthy. And if we are, we're a force.
Absolutely. And real quick, I'm going to comment real quick here on the preseason games. You guys already know that I really don't pay attention to the preseason games at all. It's also a horrible time when you guys hear about certain prospects during training camp. It is my biggest pet peeve when you're getting analysis of certain players during training camp. Let me add that again. It is my biggest pet peeve in following the draft and looking at these kids. And then all of a sudden you're getting analysis from training camp. Henrik Tikkanen was in East Coast Hockey League, a very good one, in Worcester last year. He played a bunch of games in Bridgeport last season with nothing to lose. They were the worst team in the American Hockey League until they got the goal scorers coming. Yes, Tikkanen gave up how many goals?
5.
5 goals. Beach balls could have gone through the kid. Guess what? It was his first time going up against a team like the New York Rangers that he has never faced in his life. Ever. That's a wake-up call. Will he be down in the East Coast Hockey League again this year? Probably. Will he do a little bit of Bridgeport? Yes. If anyone told you that he was getting closer to the NHL, they lied. Stop listening to analysis of prospects during training camp.
I mean, the things that you look for, and Paul, correct me, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I'm watching a preseason game, I'm not even looking at the score. I could care less about the score. You're looking, if you're looking at your top lines, again, with Duclair added on to Barzy and Horvat, you're looking at chemistry. You're looking how they're reading each other. And again, they look promising. When you see the fourth line kids out there, the kids, okay? Sure. Especially a lot of times during the game, that fourth line, the Foudies and them, they were playing against Kreider and Zibanejad. What you're looking for there, you're just looking for them just to make sure they don't look foolish. They're not going to be smart. They're not going to win every battle. They're not going to win every move, but you want to see the progression and the maturity that they've got to learn how to display when they get to that level. And that's what you're looking at. Forget about the score, forget about whatever. Just watch the game itself and watch what they're doing. That's what you have to look at in training camp.
Right. I was watching the game last night. I wanted to see their positioning. I wanted to see how quick these kids were. And not for nothing, Tikkanen in net, if he really only gave up one bad goal. He wasn't caught out of position. The game was a little too fast for him. It was a little too quick. He's a big goalie. He's what, 6'9", 6'10"?
6'9".
Okay.
He's 6'9".
All right. He's a big boy. But the game, you could see, was a little too quick for him. He had his position. He just didn't get there quick enough.
Yeah, so, I mean, I noticed. I think it was the first save that he made. It was from the slot, and you saw him put his hand over the puck, and it's like he got it with the edge of his glove and it came loose. You know, you look at that and you go, uh-oh, you know,
Yeah.
that doesn't look like he's fully, you know,
Right.
he's engaged, but he's not fully engaged.
Yeah. Fine.
And
but
that's being a 22-year-old kid.
right.
You know, I mean, you see it like with the kids, like with the Mets with Acuna. I mean, he came up and did, you know, he did not what Tikkanen did. He came out and did wonderful things, but that's not going to happen to everybody.
Right.
I think Foudy had a great game last night.
Absolutely.
Carlson had a good game last night. You know, so again, but you're looking at what you're expecting from them. You're not expecting, you know, these guys. You're not expecting Tikkanen to be Ilya Sorokin. Right. You know, you expect it, but you don't expect it to be that way. But you got to look and see if you're going to get improvements and see how they respond to that situation rather than look at the score and see if they're winning. Oh God, you know, I went on Twitter 10 minutes after the game and I was like, you've got to be kidding me, people.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy what people are writing on there. I mean, come on, you know, kid's first game at this level. You know what I mean? It's you know, the game was just a little too quick for him. That's just the way it was.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And listen, I'm gonna address this one, Brian. To a degree, I agree. You know, it reminded some people of the Stadium Series. The problem is half that team weren't there for the Stadium Series. Matt Barzal was. Okay, that's his reminder, but that's going to be on Matt Barzal now to lead this team, to remind this team that, okay, we've got a 3-0 lead. We have a 2-0 lead. We need to suffocate our opponents at the end of this period so that way they don't win those games anymore. And I'm going to agree with Robin here. It's a confidence thing. But again, it's also preseason. And I love this one. Skip the Allen Iverson Paul moment. Dobson looks soft at the point holding the line. It's a preseason game. These guys are not motivated for preseason. If it were up to the players, they'd have maybe 2 games of preseason and then they would start the regular season. Ask any other former player. They did not want to play preseason games. They just wanted to jump right into the preseason, into the regular season. They don't want it. So again, take it for what it was. It was a preseason game.
And Patrick addressed it after the game too. He says, we know that the 5-on-6 situations have been a problem for the team. He came out and said they're going to work on it. Again, remember, we don't have Lane Lambert this year.
Right.
Got Patrick Waugh.
Yeah.
And we got a full season of him. He got a full training camp with him. You heard what the guys were saying after day 1 in training camp.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it.
They couldn't breathe.
They couldn't breathe.
All right.
Exactly. But you know what?
Let's move on real quick. Brian, I do have your comment ready, but we're going to do that during water cooler talk. Real quick. Team number 2 for me, the New Jersey Devils. I said this all last week. I've talked to quite a few diehard Devils fans, including a couple of season ticket holders. Every single one of them were like, look, we just want a healthy season. We want to know what this team looks like at the end of the season, points-wise, with a healthy team. You know, 3 out of the last 4 years, certainly the last 2 out of 3, every time they get injured, they're out. And you've got goaltenders right now who should be able to get you through an injured season. But let's look at the positive here for the Devils. If they stay healthy, gentlemen, the Devils are going to be nasty. Joe, give me your thoughts on the Devils.
If the Devils stay healthy, it's going to be a horse race to first place with the Rangers. Listen, you said earlier it's the Rangers season. It's the Rangers division to lose. You could actually put the Devils in that category too if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
It might come down. Yeah. Listen, but between the two of them, you know, the Devils to me, if everybody's healthy, they're a complete team. Okay. Goaltending's not an issue with them. They're both good on defense. They both could score goals, but it's that can the Devils stay healthy?
Right.
If these two teams are healthy all season, which I hope they are, because I want to see these two teams go at it, because the season could come down to their last two matchups against each other. So I mean, you know, they're both stacked teams. So you know, I have the Devils taking the 2 spot. And I have the Rangers, naturally at number 1. So that's
that's fine.
Are my picks.
Yeah, and I had the Rangers first as well. But Gary, give me your thoughts on the Devils.
Yeah, and again, I'm the same way too. You know, early last season when Hamilton went down, you're like, because to me he was such the stoic, foundation of that team. And when he went down, everything went with him. And you have him healthy back there, and the guys that they picked up. Brendan Dillon, I think, is going to be one of the most important people on this team, because he doesn't give a damn about anybody. He's going to go after anybody that he has to. They didn't have that physicality. I mean, he had Bastian, who did sometimes, but to me, Brendan Dillon is a package. Yep. And when they go up against the Rangers, he's going to remind them, of who the Devils are. Right. And as Joe said, healthy as they can be, it's going to be a huge difference. And, they tried to get Markstrom at the deadline last year, couldn't get him. They got him now. That's like a major, major improvement already. Sure. I mean, to me, that puts at least 15 points on the scoreboard right there.
No doubt.
You're talking at least 7 or 8 more wins with just on him alone. Forget about everybody else being healthy and whatever, because to me, their top 6, although not big name, I think is just as good as any top 6 in the division.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. So, listen, we have the Rangers unanimously in first. It's their division to lose all the way through the playoffs. If the Devils stay healthy, and we know that Peter Laviolette, after a couple of seasons, as Gary mentioned to it before, the players tend to just tune him out. It seems to be like a regular occurrence. Mm-hmm. And Gary and Joe brought this up as well. Jonathan Quick, it needs to have the same season he had last year to get the Rangers where they are. Gentlemen, if the Rangers have to play both the Islanders and the Devils in the playoffs, Joe's already shaking his head no. I'm shaking my head no. Agreed. Gary, yeah, okay.
I'm agreeing.
There is no way the Rangers are getting past both the Devils and the Islanders in a playoffs season.
No.
Like, no chance. And it's everything we talked about before. Shesterkin, you may have to ride him for the season. He might get burnt out by round 2 after going through either the Devils or the Islanders in that first round. I'll even give Washington credit. If the Rangers have to go up against Washington in that first round, Washington's going to be better prepared. That's not going to be easy, but you got to go through at least 2 emotional rounds in the metro area. I don't know if the Rangers can pull it off, folks. And it's like we said before, if the Devils get everything together, that's going to be a tough one.
You saw Lindgren go down last night. He's out 4 weeks. He's always been brittle. Great defenseman, great passion, but he's brittle. Yes. There's not a lot of. I mean, other than Rempe going to the Mike Tyson School of Fighting, right. I don't see much physicality. Yes, they're fast. Yes, they're going to be, their power play is lethal. Yes, their goaltending is good. Their 4 of their top 6 defensemen are very solid. And it's still going to be theirs to lose. But, last year 2 years we said be scared of the Rangers. Last year we said, I don't know, they're going to win, but we're not sure. I'm not as, you know, although I put them first, I'm not as confident they'll go far. They'll go further this year. I really don't, because just as you said, you know, the playoffs are a different animal, and I don't think they're built for the playoffs. They're built for the regular season. They've always been. And that's going to be the issue they got to tackle come the trade deadline. You know, because their physicality, although you've got a big guy up there, but he can't do everything.
Right.
I agree with you with that, because if you look at the last 3 seasons, the teams that knocked them out grinded them down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you beat them. You beat them along the boards. You don't beat them by putting the puck in. Well, you win the game by putting the puck in the net, but you beat them. Right. You beat them by wearing them down. They're not a physical team. They're not.
Yeah.
They're
speed.
Right. They're fast. But what you know, you can't skate through somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You put your body in front of someone, you're going to stop them. So, but you know, that's the thing. I mean, I always said to Paul that they're just not built for the playoffs. That team,
right?
They're not built for it.
So, all right, real quick, we're going to go into water cooler talk just for a few minutes here. Brian does bring up a decent point. You guys are way hung up on goaltending. You know, Aiden Hill, Matt Murray, twice, Holtby, Binnington. I'll include him. Corey Crawford, Antiemi. These are all cup winners, and none of them are great, and I can keep going if you want. The point is that there's a ton of goalies you can win with. The team in front of the goalie is more important. Obviously, you can't win with bad goaltending, but as long as you make the saves you're supposed to, you don't need to be great. I understand where he's coming from on this, gentleman, but you
definitely
need to have a hot goaltender at some point during that playoffs to get you through. And I know where Brian's coming from, and part of me agrees with that. But Sorokin and Varlamov are the 2 best chances of any of those guys getting hot at any time, because they can play to another level, which is why, you know, the Devils have Markstrom. Markstrom can take his game to another level. Shesterkin has already gone to the conference finals. The Islanders have 2 of them. And for me, I understand where Brian's coming from, but you still need that goaltending to get you through the season, and not just the season, but the playoffs. You need that hot momentum. Look, as far as I'm concerned, if Marcus Hogberg is that hot goaltender moving forward, you play him over Sorokin and Varlamov. I don't care what happens. You play the hot goaltender until he's not hot anymore.
Yep.
So I no, you can't win with bad goaltending. That's obvious, but you need as many hot goaltenders who can raise their level when it's needed. And I think the Islanders have the 2 best ones.
Yeah, and I can go almost to the contrasting side. I mean, Colorado won the cup and, you know, and showed why they were so good. I mean, you know, Kemper was okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't a superstar, but he got you 16 wins.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't necessarily have to be a world beater, but you need the consistency all season long to get to that point. You know, and there's more that have won because of who they had in the back of the net that won outside of that. To me, Corey Crawford won 2 cups, but he wasn't as brilliant. Aiden Hill was just a nice story, but I don't think he was that brilliant. Murray had 2 good years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but you need to, you know, and those guys weren't that great during the regular season, but it was the playoffs. Yeah. So, but you still need to have somebody strong enough and capable enough to get you through the 82 to get you to that point.
Right. And I'll go along with Brian here again as well. You know, the reason why we harp on the goaltending is because we don't think the Islanders have enough firepower yet to possibly go up against the Devils or the Rangers to get that division.
Mm-hmm.
You put Varlamov and Sorokin together, now you've got something against the Rangers and the Devils. At least you can try to compete. But the Devils, if they stay healthy, look out. if the Rangers, if they stay healthy, look out, and God help everyone if Jonathan Quick has another season like that again. But we're harping on the goaltending because we feel that the Islanders' offense is average or maybe just slightly above average. They don't have the offense that the Devils and Rangers do just yet. It's September 25th. We'll see where the season goes. And again, that's why Gary and Joe have said it before. This is why you play the season. So,
Amen to that.
yeah. Gentlemen, is there anything else you want to touch on? Is there anything you want to add to the Metro? Did we miss anything?
No, we're good. We don't miss anything.
I just want to add to the goalie.
Sure.
Segment we were just talking about. You know, we always said you have to have a goalie that's going to steal you a game when the team isn't playing well. Okay? I mean, you get a guy like Bobrovsky. Listen, even Sorokin, when he was on, I mean, and the Islanders weren't playing their top game, you knew you were in the game because he was on. You need that. I mean, you know, goalies have to be able to step in and steal you a game. In any situation, playoffs, regular season, they got to, you know. That's just the way I feel about that. So
sure. Hey, boys and girls, any other questions, comments, concerns before we go? Gentlemen, I've got one more question for you. You can give me a top 5, a top 3, or whatever, but this is part of Water Cooler Talk. Give me your favorite New York Islander originally from Europe. Give me your favorite European New York Islander, or 2, or 3, or 5.
Thomas Janssen.
I knew you were going to come up with that. Good answer, though. I'll go. Kenny Janssen's up there for me. Franz Nielsen's up there for me. Ziggy's up there for me. Tommy Salo's there. You know, I got a couple of personal favorites there. Chara could be another one. You know.
Oh, my wife just gave me a good one.
Go ahead.
Bobby Nystrom.
Bobby, suck up.
Born in Sweden.
Born in Sweden. That's right.
Got you. She got you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Claire's like dancing right now.
I'm sure.
Well, she also liked Tommy Soderstrom.
Oh, really?
I think she got a kick out of when he was a star, that he would like bow to everybody.
Well, yeah, that's because he was finally making saves, and everyone started applauding him when he was finally making saves, and that's when he started bowing. Oi.
Oh, she's yeah. Who would I put there? Well, I would go back to the Cup years and put Anders Kallagher there.
Ooh, good.
Okay.
Good. I like that.
And as Claire just said, Thomas Greiss.
Who?
Thomas Greiss.
Thomas Greiss?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, again, there's the other one. There's one, and he's got 2 nicknames. He was the Polish Prince or the Polish Putz.
Zerkowski.
What
worries about the Isles?
We won't get into Yashin or Kavasha.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And Kasparaitis will keep.
Well, Kasparaitis will keep. Yes. What worries about the Isles? What happens if one of the starters go down, Paul? Are we talking forwards, goaltenders, defensemen? I mean, we've already figured out that the Islanders can win without half their defense last year. Again, I like Marcus Hogberg so far. I liked his positioning. I thought the goal he let up against, I think it was the Devils, was a sensational shot by that player.
Yeah,
I don't think that was on Hogberg as
nobody's going to touch that one.
No, that was a snipe. That was a beautiful.
No, I think very, very compact. I like that about him too. I like that he's very compact. Didn't get flashy. Was very simple.
Yeah. No, I would go with Varlamov to start the season if something's wrong with Sorokin. I'm okay with Hogberg. And again, for now, I think Jakob Skark looked pretty good last night or the night before. He didn't give anything up. His positioning was good. He looked very calm. He almost looked Thomas Greiss-like, where he was very calm in the net. He let the game come to him. And I like it. I liked where the goalies are for now. So, I'm not too concerned yet with the goalies. Plus, again, on two separate occasions, when you have Patrick Waugh and you have um, Lou Lamoriello telling you that Sorokin is probably going to be ready for game 1, or if not
Believe it.
game 2 or game 3, I really don't have any concerns
Yeah,
at the moment.
and I believe it.
Hogberg, all right, we're going to save this one for Robin here. Hogberg is underrated. Numbers game in Ottawa. Absolutely, honey. And let me tell you, Robin will tell you, that Ottawa team was more of an expansion team than what it is now. Hogberg just saw a lot of puck when he was the starter for Ottawa. He got the raw end of that deal. So I like the fact that he went over to Europe. He got a little more refined in his game. He's here now. I'm all for it. I like his stuff so far. I'm honestly, again, September 25th. We're good. I don't mind where the Islanders are at the moment. So,
And this is
all
not
right,
a biased
boys and girls.
statement. And it's not a biased statement. I really feel comfortable with the way they look. Forget the score.
Oh, yeah.
Again, for everybody that's listening, it's going to either go to the game Friday night or whatever. Don't look at the scoreboard. Unless you're looking at the screen. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just watch the lines that are out there. Watch how they look with each other. If they're not looking sloppy, just tick mark the things you see. And that's what you work on. And that's what you build on for October 10th.
Right.
And that's what you worry about. Because once that date passes and you're past that line to start the year, that's when you can start worrying about things. This is not the time to worry. This is not the time to talk trade. This is not the time to talk firing a coach or moving a player out. Because number one, they've only been in practice, 6 days, 7 days? This is day 7. This is day 7.
Mhm.
Okay? So they're not on their sea legs yet, guys. I mean, seriously, I just can't deal with Twitter 10 minutes after a game's over.
No, my dad always told me about preseason. It doesn't matter unless a player gets hurt.
That's true.
Yeah. And you look at the
That's
Rangers,
true.
what happened to Lindgren last night.
Yep.
And
Doesn't matter.
even
unless a
though
player gets hurt.
and even though Panarin's okay, you get concerned about those things. Those are the things
Right.
if you want to get mad about or concerned about, that's where you can get concerned about.
Right.
Don't worry about the play. Because in now it's 14 days away, 15 days away from the opening of the season.
Sure.
That's when you can start not being concerned, but being a little bit more noticeable on things.
Well, Gary, when we were growing up, the reason why we watched the preseason games was because they were all brawls. All they did was fight. It's different now. You know what I mean, with the contract and how much these players are getting paid. But that back then it was fun to watch the preseason games because you've seen all the guys trying to make the team. They want to make a mark for themselves, so they fight.
Number one, the prices were cheaper, even cheaper for the preseason than they were for the regular season.
Free. They were usually free to preseason games.
That's what I mean. So it was good to go then. But yeah, you'd have line brawls just about every third or fourth shift.
Yep. Yeah.
But believe me, these guys are not going at full speed. Don't expect. Barzy had a great game, and his moves were brilliant. But I still don't think he was even clicking that gear that we normally know he has.
Right.
And that's where you got to look at. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Barzy played a great game." Yes, he did play a great game, but it's not typical Matt Barzal. There were things still not there. But you know what? In 14 days, it'll be there.
Yeah.
Sure. And for those of you worried about, who's going to make this team and whatnot, well, let's make this easy for you. Steplikov is wearing number 7. That should give you a good indication that he's making the team. When you see William Dufour wearing number 56?
56.
When you see Alex Jeffries wearing number 45 or 43, whatever it is, whenever you see those illegal Lou numbers, guess what, boys and girls? They're not
Bridgeport number.
Yeah.
They're not making the team. Okay. So go along with that. Don't worry about the cuts yet. Again, like Gary said, it's at least 2 weeks away from that. Something may happen. Something may not happen. We'll go from there.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, you see the Devils because they got to play a regular season game in
In
9
Prague.
days in the Czech Republic.
Yes.
So they're playing with their full. They're pretty much their full boat right now.
Yeah. They
They
have
gotta
to
get
get
ready.
ready now.
Yeah, but
Excellent.
believe me, it's perfect for them because probably I would say probably by next Wednesday, it's probably when the cuts are going to start happening.
Probably.
And Bridgeport's going to get themselves together and stuff. So they'll be training camp number 2. So don't worry about it. But just watch them. I mean, that this year in Bridgeport you're going to have guys with a little more NHL experience than you've had in the past. Liam Foudy's got some NHL experience with Columbus. Gaudier's making a tough case for him to stay up here, but if he doesn't, you got guys down there. So, things will be okay. And if God forbid some guys get hurt, I think this year better than in the past, we'll be able to fill the holes.
Yep. So, all right. So, boys and girls, next week we are going to cover the Atlantic Division and we're going to cover the Pacific Division. And that's going to be it for the NHL previews of each team. We'll do a little conference preview if we have to. We'll go over some of the cuts. We'll go over, what else we're seeing over in preseason, if anything. And, we'll get ready for our own season here. Starting in October, we'll go full force. We are going to be back on X, but it's going to cost us $80 to broadcast on X. So I will be taking care of that in another week or 2, maybe 3 at the beginning of the season. But we will be back on X in a few weeks. And for now, Gary, where can they find you on social media?
Again, I don't tweet much, but you can definitely check with me at IslesMet63. And like I said, we're looking forward to the season. I'm hopefully, if I'm still feeling better, I'm going to be at UBS on Friday, and I think both Claire and I are excited for the season to start.
Excellent. Joe, where can I find you?
At Joe Panettiere on X, and that's really the only social
You
media.
have not been banned yet? Oh, no, you won't be banned on X for your political
No,
views.
actually, they gave me my blue check mark. I'm official.
You are official.
I'm official.
Wow.
X
Look
has
at
given
you
me
go.
my blue check mark.
Damn.
It's really me.
All right. Listen, boys and girls, please follow us on X at
Oh,
Isles
by the
Talk.
way, I'm blue check
Yes.
mark too.
Are you really?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
I gotta see if I'm blue check mark now because I've been there like 13 years now. I gotta have a blue check mark. at
You
some
pay
point.
that $80, they'll give you a blue check mark. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's it too. So yeah. Yeah, folks, X at Isles Talk, please. Follow us and like us on Facebook, and please, we're trying to get a lot of people on YouTube. Like the videos, follow us on Isles Talk there on YouTube as well. It's going to help with the analytics. Hopefully we get a few more Islander fans. Please spread the word for here on this show. We thank you for coming once again. And boys and girls, we will see you next week. Let's go Islanders. Have a great weekend and stay safe.